Welcome back to another breaking news. Maxx Crosby, he's on the move. And I know you're a little upset. Just real quick, break it down. 2 first-round picks. Baltimore Ravens pick 14 this year. Sounds like the first next year in
Right.
exchange for Maxx Crosby. Ty, what does this mean for Baltimore?
Yeah, I mean, this is a major get, obviously, from their defensive coordinator from the Chargers coming over as the head coach, Jesse Minter. The Ravens last year were tied for 30th in pass defense, and how do you go ahead and get better with doing that? Is you get a superstar DN who not only is good in the run but can get to the quarterback and allow your cornerbacks and safeties not having to cover as long. So for them, giving up a mid first round pick this year, which we've all kind of talked about, not the greatest draft class. There's not that superstar type player. And then next year, you're hoping that this move puts you into a Super Bowl contender. So you're talking a late first round pick next year. I mean, this is a no brainer for them with Lamar Jackson, with Derrick Henry on the offense. You bring in the defensive coordinator, like I mentioned, who's going to hopefully help just overall get that defense back to where they're kind of known. And this move is just a fantastic move for them. And, they're right back into the Super Bowl contention.
Yeah, and before we kind of jump over to what it means for the Raiders, the Ravens kind of make more sense when you look at a standpoint of the Cowboys, the Bears, 2 of the teams we talked about, and the Rams. Is it the 14th pick that made the difference to the Raiders versus the Bears who are picking later? What was it? Was it that they were the few teams willing to give up 2 firsts? Was Chicago not really willing to give up 2 of them?
Yeah, based on what I'm seeing, it seems like a team like the Cowboys were willing to give up the first and second. I really think the Ravens stepped in and doing that extra first, and I think the Raiders kind of just sat by and just kind of waited to get that package, right? You look at it from Baltimore standpoint, Madubuike in the middle, right? The D tackle, now you got, Max on the edge, you got Hamilton there, you got, Roquan Smith there. The cap standpoint, so Maxx Crosby, his $30 million cap hit comes into the books. I saw something earlier today that, they can restructure that and drop his cap hit to, I want to say about $7 million for the year. So they're going to still have some cap space to work with Baltimore. They got to figure out a way to get some weapons on the offensive side of the ball for Lamar. If they can figure that out, to me, they might be the team to beat coming out of the AFC.
Yeah, last year a little bit of a struggle. Lamar battled with injuries. Kind of seemed like one after the other would get healthy from an ankle, then it was the knee. That team never really seemed to get the flow going. When Derrick Henry was playing good, Lamar was out. When Lamar was playing good, Derrick Henry wasn't running the ball well. It was kind of hard for them to gel, but I think you get a guy that's a top 5-3 player in his position in Maxx Crosby. You match that with a top 3 safety in Kyle Hamilton. Roquan Smith has all the potential when he's playing at the top of his game to be a top 5 linebacker. Like, they have talent on the field. You mentioned Madubuike, who a couple years ago I think was an All-Pro or Pro Bowl or whatever it was. There's talent on the side of the field, and as you mentioned, Todd Monken taking over from a defensive coordinator standpoint and wants to bring that identity back to Baltimore, right? The Ray Lewis, the Ed Reed
Yeah,
days
Jesse
where,
Minter. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Minter, yeah, Jesse
Yeah,
Minter, yeah.
Minter. Yeah,
I know what you meant.
my apologies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he left for the Browns, but
Yeah.
no, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then real quick, as a Chicago Bears fan, what does it mean now? Does it shift the focus strictly to a guy like Hendrickson? Is there other names in the trade market? What are you looking for now from Chicago?
Yeah, well, clearly, Ryan Poles didn't want to, pony up the 2 first-round picks. And, look, would I have loved that? Of course. Now looking at it and seeing what the Raiders got, I might be okay the fact that we didn't give up the 2 first. So now, look, you look at the free agent market, Trey Henderson's out there. As I said the other day, he's your option 1B, and now he becomes your 1A, and now you get to keep all your draft capital, and, you still got 5 picks in the top 100 this year. Maybe they get the Comps third round pick, that's still to be determined. But yeah, there's plenty of moves for Chicago to make defensively. Yeah, I would have loved Max, but, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, and that's kind of focused back on more on the Raiders,
Yeah.
right? They get the 2 first-round picks. First overall pick is going to be Mendoza. Is there a possibility that they move up from 14 even more to go get a guy like Carnell Tate from Ohio State? What are your thoughts on them going up? Like, is a similar recipe for the Bears, right? Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze drafted in the same draft. They traded up, obviously, to go get Rome. Do you see something like that happening for the Raiders?
Yeah, I definitely think it could be an option. I know like for us, for the Dolphins specifically, our general manager at 11 has talked about, looking to move down. So maybe, I've seen some mock drafts at 11 that Tate would go to the Dolphins because we would need receiver helps. I definitely think teams will look, if it makes sense. But for the Raiders' perspective, I mean, again, Anthony's talked about this, I don't know how many times, but this was the right move for them.
Yeah,
Yes, it
Yeah.
sucks to get rid of a superstar, the face of the franchise. We've talked like the Browns, with Myles Garrett kind of doing similar things to this. They just never pulled that trigger. For them, this is a complete reset. Brady's in there. They're going to get their quarterback hopefully for the future. Now they have ammunition to build that team because there's so many holes on that roster. I know for Raider fans, it's kind of sucks. It's like, hey, this guy's leaving. But I think in a couple of years, we're going to realize, man, this is kind of that beginning building block for this franchise to get back to where they used to be.
yeah. I want to say, from John Spytek's point of view, I really feel like the Raiders handled this brilliantly. I got to tell you, going into this whole idea of Max being moved, yeah, they came out and they said they wanted, the Micah package, the 2 firsts and a player, and they got pretty close, right? They didn't
Yeah.
get that player. I don't know that many people thought that they'd be getting that for a 29-year-old coming off of a major injury like that. He handled this brilliantly. There was some talk earlier today about the Eagles maybe being involved, maybe like, Jalen Carter being shipped back to the Raiders. To me, that was nothing but just smoke being thrown out there, maybe to get the Cowboys to kind of up their ante. I just, they were very quiet. They were very patient, and they ended up getting the package they wanted. And like Ty, you were referring to, this was a must move for the Raiders.
Yeah.
If you look at Maxx Crosby since he's been drafted on the Raiders, there's something like 20, don't quote me, but like 25 games under 500 since he's been a Raider. He's a difference maker. He's a star. Clearly, it hasn't brought wins. You need a quarterback. You need a franchise quarterback, and you need to build around your franchise quarterback. And so to do that, you need draft capital. You need young talent. And if you're telling me that you think the Raiders are going to compete in the next year with that division with Maxx
Yeah.
Crosby still on your roster, you're crazy. So you get rid of him now at 29. This is the best capital you're going to ever get for probably the best player you've had in decades, and you just move on and you start focusing your franchise now in April, and you do everything in your power to build around your new franchise.
One thing too, Dave, like on the Raiders or on the Ravens side of this, the one thing about Maxx Crosby is he kind of just fits that mold of that defensive kind of mindset of the Ravens. The guy's motor is just
Yeah.
not like the guy's constantly attacking quarterbacks, attacking players, like plays. He kind of fits that, with Roquan and Kyle Hamilton, as Anthony mentioned. This is definitely a win-win for, I feel, both teams. Like this is going to work out, I feel, for both. And, the Ravens obviously are trying to get over the hump with Lamar, and, Maxx Crosby is going to be a huge part of this. So I think
Don't
overall,
stop
great
now,
trade.
Baltimore. Don't stop now. You know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's rare to see like a face of a franchise be a defensive player, especially in today's age, but
Mhm.
he's always been that for the Raiders, right? You
Yeah.
think of the Raiders in the last 5 years. Maxx Crosby, I
Yeah.
can't really and you kind of look at past teams, like I mentioned, the Ray Lewis, the Ed Reeds, like those teams won Super Bowls
Yeah.
with Joe Flacco at quarterback. Now you have obviously Lamar Jackson, such a different talent. But I think the Seahawks have shown that you can do this in different ways than maybe Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have built the blueprint, and the Tom Brady and the Patriots have built the blueprint, right? It doesn't need to be the quarterback. Is that a sustained success? Yes. Is that a difference in what they're trying to build with Mendoza? Yes. But to my point and to your point, I can see them going either way with this pick, where they go up and get a guy for Mendoza, whether it's Tate or whoever else. Or I can see them saying, look, there's somebody that's going to be desperate. They are going to want this pick before the middle of the round. We're going to get more capital, right? We'll trade back 10 picks, get another second round pick next year, whatever it may be, because they're multiple years away, not
Yeah.
just because of the
Yeah.
Raiders, but as you mentioned, the division.
Yeah, Raiders, Spytek, stay patient. This takes some time. Build it from the inside out, build it the right way, and take care of your franchise. Take care of your
Yeah.
franchise. and you guys will be fine in a few years.
I
You
mean,
know, if
they've had general managers, what, the last like 5. I mean, I feel like they're always rotating coaches, general managers. Like this was the right move.
I feel like this is this is the best move that I feel like the Raiders have made for their franchise in the longest time. I think they handled this perfectly, and they maximized their blue chip, player. And, I'm looking forward to watching, what they do over the next few weeks and months. They got capital that they actually have to spend based on rules in the NFL, because they haven't spent a lot, so with Max leaving, that's going to obviously increase, but the other thing too that I'm just looking forward to, and we can kind of wrap this up here, but, you know, some of these teams that missed out on Max, like we were kind of referring to with the Bears, so Cowboys, maybe the Eagles, maybe the Rams. I feel like there was a lot of moves that maybe were being discussed that have been kind of held up by this Max thing. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of interested to see kind of what happens moving forward over the next 48 hours prior to the tampering window, just to kind of see. I mean, there could be some activity from this coming.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna hop back on again as soon as there's any breaking news. But we saw reports today, right? Teams are moving pieces left and right to create cap space because as I learned from you, Ant, there is a real hard cap space in the NFL, right? There's no wavering. You got to be below it. So teams are doing it, and it's veterans. It's guys like Decker, who's been in Detroit for 10
Right.
years. Gary in Green Bay, who's drafted there, been there for 6, 7 years. The pieces are going to fall, and there's going to be more pieces to pick up from these dominoes that are falling. So I think that we're just getting started, right? This is the piece that kind of the cookie's going to crumble from here.
Right.
So my next move is I want to see where Hendrickson goes and then see what happens from there.
Yeah.
I think that's option A now for the Bears, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely option A. They, not that we have to dive into this too much, but they made the trade for the center, from New England. They gave up a fifth rounder for
Yeah.
2027, but that was like a cost efficient move. They didn't go big on Lonenbaum, the center out of Baltimore. So they went cheaper on that route. So they got the cap space now, and they can get aggressive on the defensive side. But it's got to start with Trey. Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Ty, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, just like I said, the Maxx Crosby thing, I think, is that first domino, just like I think Kyler Murray on the quarterback side is that first domino. Once he
Yeah.
decides what team he's going for, I think the quarterback thing is going to start moving. But I think, like I said, with Crosby, this was the big piece. Now I think stuff will start falling in line with Trey Henderson and others and, moving quickly here.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Yeah.
Guys, give us a
One last thing, Dave, that I
go
just
ahead,
want to,
Yeah.
because primarily I'm the one kind of talking with a lot of you guys out on X and whatnot. And I've said it to many different people across all the various fan bases. Just enjoy this. This is fun. These next few weeks are going to be a lot of fun, a lot of hopes, and a lot of teams have moves they need to make. So just enjoy, and we'll be here for the ride.
We will be. Guys, follow us along on X and YouTube at OOTPod4. We'll have the QR codes on the screen. Thank you very much. Breaking news, Maxx Crosby to the Ravens, 2 first-round picks. We'll see you.
See you guys.
See ya.